everyone. My name is Kayla. I am a volunteer with ESF, and today I'm here with Khalida, who was a volunteer for GRI. And is I know you said you were there pretty recently, right? Volunteering.
Yes, I was there at the end of June and beginning of July.
Oh, nice. Oh, so you like have just come back.
Yeah, came back recently.
And do you want to talk a little bit about how you got into volunteering?
I found out about the program last year. I was just browsing, looking for something to do, like different kind of holiday, and I was always interested in conservation and wildlife, but I'd never really thought about volunteering on a program. And it was just by accident, really. I came up upon Game Rangers International and started doing a little bit of research into it. And I thought this could be actually something that fits for me rather than just doing the normal, beach holiday, shopping, hotels, that type of thing. Because I love traveling, but I hadn't really traveled too much in Africa. And it was just something that, sort of made me take interest. I couldn't do it last year, but then this February of this year, I was just in a predicament as to where do I go this year. It was a big milestone for me, July being my 60th birthday, and I wanted to do something memorable and special. So it was just, again, I was just browsing and the email from last year came up because I'd saved a lot of the information, and I started thinking, well, this could be what I want to do. So it just really was by accident and by chance. I hadn't planned it. I just feel like it was something that was just meant to be. I applied. The process didn't take very long. Just applied and just waited, and got the response that the dates that I asked for were full, but they offered me a month earlier. And I accepted. I thought, well, I'm not waiting another year. I'm just going to go. And that was it, really. So the process was fairly simple. All the, usual medicals and insurance, that type of thing. And but yeah, I was really happy when I got the email to say that I'd been accepted. I think that's when it really kind of hit me that I am actually going to Zambia, and I've never been to Zambia before. And so, I remember just telling friends and family when they asked, they said, "What are you planning?" And I said, I'm going to Zambia," and they were like, "Where?" I said, "I'm going to help rewild baby elephants," and they were like, "What?" And it just kind of happened like that, and I just thought, this is really exciting, and yeah, I just couldn't wait for it, to be honest. Luckily, like I said, the program was a month earlier than what I'd wanted initially, so I didn't have to wait too long. And yeah, it was a really exciting time knowing that I'll be traveling and doing something really meaningful and worthwhile.
Before we continue, I'd love to ask you a small favor. If this story touches you, please like and subscribe. It may seem simple, but it really helps spread inspiration, so more people can step out and make a difference in their own lives. And if you'd like to learn more, the links are at the end and in the description below. Now, let's hear more of this journey. Yeah, and was this your first time volunteering in this way?
Well, what I'd done before was I hadn't physically gone to Cameroon, but I had been involved in sponsoring a chimpanzee that was trafficked and rescued. And I'd had always, I sponsored Carla for a year, and then I had updates, and then recently I had an update that she's had a baby girl. So it was nice to have those updates throughout. And in the past, I've been to an elephant orphanage in Sri Lanka, but it wasn't the same as in Zambia because those elephants are not wild, they're working elephants. So it was a little bit of a different setup, but still I had contact with those elephants, and I experienced being around orphaned elephants. So that's what kind of got me interested, because I thought I want to pursue this more. I want to understand more about the rewilding process.
Yeah, so you kind of had that interest beforehand
Yeah.
with wildlife. Yeah,
Yeah.
then you took
I've
like,
always followed wildlife. I've always been a big fan of watching, but never actually done anything hands-on other than here in the UK we get the animal experiences, and I've done many of those. But nothing like what I experienced in Zambia. That
yeah,
was on a different level.
yeah, I
Totally.
know. Definitely. Yeah, I know you said before when we were talking, you were like when you were younger, you maybe wanted to work in a zoo. So
Yeah.
you had that interest, I'm guessing, from when you were even younger as a kid.
Always been passionate about animals. I've always had pets. I've always loved being
Yeah.
around them. I can't imagine life without having a pet at home.
Mhm.
Um, so it's always been there from the start. I've always had this affinity towards animals. I've always felt comfortable and relaxed, around animals all the time. So it's always been there. And the dream's always been to do more. But this was more than just something that I thought about. This was something that I actually could do, and it
Yeah.
became possible. So, turning that into a reality, an actual experience, it was amazing, really.
Yeah, that's incredible too because I love talking to everyone that's gone and like volunteered and done these programs because they talk about like wanting to do something more and do something meaningful and just kind of like pushing past any fear or
Yeah,
anything that they have and just going for it. Um,
yeah.
yeah, so I think that's amazing.
You
And,
talk about fears. I had fears of spiders.
oh,
When I read the brief, the safety brief, I was started reading about, insects, bugs, spiders, and I thought, oh my God. And I'd already applied and I'd already been accepted at that stage. And I was like, what have I done? And then it got worse. And then it went on to like crocodiles, possible crocodiles. And I thought, oh no.
signed up.
We're in the deep end now. But it's funny because like my friends and family know how terrified I get when we have spiders around. But for some reason there, I don't know, everything just changed. It's like it became about the elephants. It wasn't about my fear. I thought, get over it. You're here now, just get over it. What are you going to do? You're going to go back home or you're going to stick it out?
Yeah,
That's the choice I had, right? Because it is a bit of a culture shock, living in a tent from, when you've never lived in a tent before. But that was short-lived. It really was. I think it was only the first night was kind of strange for me, sleeping in under a mosquito net and the sounds. I couldn't identify the sounds, of the animals. That was all strange to me. I really couldn't identify, and slowly, you start, everything changes. Is over time. I could identify hyenas. I could identify even like I heard lions roar. Definitely, you can hear the elephants. You can, you start sort of singling out the sounds and start thinking, well, okay, I heard this, and I heard that, and you just learn as you go along, and it's amazing because from not knowing anything to learning so much by the end of the trip. Just so full of knowledge and understanding. And I think that was really inspiring for me. And I thought, I have to share this. I really have to share this with other people because what I've experienced and felt is it's gone above and beyond what I expected. And people like-minded who haven't got a clue about this program need to know. So I haven't really stopped talking about it since I've got back. I really haven't. I think people are getting fed up of me. But it is because it did really have an impact on me. And I
yeah,
don't think I realized just how big an impact it was going to be.
yeah. And is there something that you think had the biggest impact while you were there, or is it kind of just everything coming together
There
that?
was a lot of things that happened while we were there, which aren't the norm. Like we had a translocation of 2 of the baby elephants from the nursery to the release facility. So that was amazing because we'd already met Chikumbi and Nadewa, already in the nursery. So when they came to the release facility, we knew them already, so we saw them again. So that was really nice. And then we had a rescue of a 10-month-old, which is the recent rescue they did, of Nangila. So she came to the rescue facility, and then I had to go back to the nursery on my last day to fly out. I didn't get to see her, but she came to the nursery, I think, a few days later. But we got the updates from Andrea to see how she was doing, because she was airlifted. And it was so nice that, she got airlifted because she was so poorly and weak. But it's lovely just having those updates, because you feel a connection when you've met the elephants. It's like, I want to know what's happening to them. I want to know how they're doing. So I think it's really nice when each group, they take photographs and send them in, and Andrew sends the updates to the volunteers that have already had the experience.
Yeah, oh, so you get to keep updated with everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering how, when you first got there, because you were saying it's kind of something you've never done before, um, like what was it like to just, I guess, kind of have that maybe culture shock where you're like, I'm doing something totally new.
Yeah, I mean, when I landed into Zambia, the first thing I noticed, it was so quiet. And and I just felt ready. I just felt ready. I thought, whatever comes now, I'm here now. So, I've signed up for this. I've got to live it. It was really amazing. Everything from that, from the time I landed to the time I left, it was you're so well looked after by everyone. Everyone is helping you and supporting you, so you never feel like you're on your own. You
Yeah.
know, and that's something that I noticed, that you felt like you were part of a big family. You didn't feel like that you're a stranger, and different people are coming from different walks of life and coming together for the same purpose. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I really sort of enjoyed, the fact that we all had that shared common interest.
Yeah.
Everyone, we all were very emotional when we watched, even the staff, the people who work there day and night, they still were reactive, like, to the elephants, when you see certain behaviors, and it was just, it was just really endearing. And I think just coming from a different world and just landing into a situation where you're in the bush, literally in the bush, that was so strange for me initially. But as time went on, just literally over the few nights that we were there at the nursery, you just adapt. You just do.
Yeah.
I think you just understand that this is how it is here, and you just accept it, and that's it. I mean, honestly, the facilities were fine. There was nothing that I couldn't really complain about. We had everything that we needed. It was just different, different to what you'd have back home, but everything was there. Everything was facilitated for. Everything was catered for. So you just had to really just immerse yourself in the experience and just get the most out of it. And everyone was in the same boat. Everyone was doing, the same sort of stuff. So you just chipped in wherever you could. And I think, it was nice just meeting new people as well. And the people who obviously work there, honestly, they do a fantastic job. I think just seeing them day in, day out, doing what they do, I don't think it would be possible to run a project like this without people like that. Their passion, honestly, you've got to have passion to do this. If you haven't got passion, you wouldn't be able to achieve what they're achieving. And I think the results you can see for themselves, the state of the elephants when they first enter, when they're rescued, to how they are rewilded and how they leave, the condition of the elephant's mental, physical state. You can see such a difference, absolutely such a difference. So the project works. It definitely works. And that's why I said it needs to continue, you
Mhm.
know, and everybody needs to dig deep. I think we just need to keep this project running as
Yeah.
best as we can. Everyone can do something. I think everyone can do something. We can all, even if it's just raising awareness,
Mhm.
it's just talking about it and just sharing your videos and your photographs just to inspire somebody. I know on the plane ride back, I inspired another young lady. I just met a stranger on a flight and I started talking about it. And she was like, "You've got to send me the emails." And we exchanged emails. So more than likely she'll be joining up, because it is because you find like-minded people, don't you, in all
Mhm.
walks of life, and you realize that you can actually be that instrument that actually starts, like for me, the email that I got from GRI initially just
Mhm.
sparked that interest. But if someone had talked to me about their experience, that would have spoke volumes. I wouldn't have hesitated. I would have just like, wow, I need to do this, you
Yeah.
know? So I think that is so much more powerful than just reading about it and just having, an advertisement or a promotional situation. Someone actually who's done it.
Yeah.
I don't think you can beat that kind of, that's powerful to me if someone talks about an experience.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because then you can see their passion and all of their experiences coming from
Yeah,
that, and like looking at like a
sure.
or something. Like 100%, I agree with you. But yeah, that's something I also find really cool about this program is people always say it's like everyone comes from like a different walk of life and it's all different ages and you don't really need like any prerequisites. Like if you're passionate and interested, like you can volunteer and be a part of the program.
Absolutely. And age should never be a restriction. Look, I have no issue saying I've just turned 60 and I managed to do all the activities, and they can vouch for me. They're the boys, they know. They're like, "You're a strong woman." And I it didn't faze me. I love joining in and working, with everybody. Um, you know, like you were up in the morning, very early in the morning, and you had a full day's work ahead of you, but you just do it. You just think, well, I'm here to volunteer. That's what volunteering is. You chip in wherever you can, and but the program itself is structured so well that you're not doing the same thing day in, day out. You're learning so many things across. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start, because I learned not only how to make their milk bottles for the elephants, the power balls. We learned, about how to make bush buns on an open fire. Who does that? It's like, it's not your normal everyday stuff. And I tell people I know how to make a milk bottle for a baby elephant. They're like, what? I know what goes in there as well. It's all healthy. But it's I just found it really interesting. I thought every aspect was interesting, and I don't think there's anything, I mean, like just collecting, chopping the browse and bringing them into the bombers, and just cleaning out the stables. I mean, it was fun. You make it fun. For me, it was fun because I thought, I'm only here for a short time. I'm not doing this permanently, but I knew I was doing it ultimately to help, the staff there, but ultimately it's for the elephants. That's what you're there for. You're caring for the elephants. And I always had that at the forefront of my mind. When I was making the milk, I'd be like, you know, always watching that particular elephant would come into the bama and drink the milk that I'd made, and I was always in my mind thinking, I hope you're enjoying the milk I made, because I made it. So it's, even though we didn't touch the elephants and we didn't have that physical touch, and that's really important to understand. I think that's the part I had to get my head around at first, because I'm very tactile as a person, and I love, like, I have cats and I love, my cats and I have contact all the time. So for me, that was really important to understand that aspect, because, you know, the whole point is to rewild and lessen the contact, the human contact with these elephants, because ultimately it's going to make a difference in their survival chances. So when I understood what was behind it, I accepted it, and I was like, I'm not, even though they were like their trunks would come out and they would try to sort of have contact with you, I refrained completely, because I thought, I'm not going to put them in any kind of danger. It's not about me, it's about them. And I think once you get that and you understand it, that you're not going to take that little bit of chance away from them, because they need that chance to survive, you know, over my pleasure, you know, that few moments of like, you know, pleasure that you get. I thought, no, I'm not going to take that away from them. So that was that was really a good realization for me, I think, out of this whole program, that it is about getting them back to rewilding them and back to the state of being fully wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective too, because I don't think anyone else has really mentioned that before, but yeah, that's really kind of what it is about. And I think something else you kind of touched on before, where you were like, well, no day is really the same when you're in this program. And something I would like try to ask people is like, what is a typical day like? And everyone's like, well, you know, there really isn't one. Like, you're kind of just doing something different every day.
Yeah, because there's so much to be done. I mean, 1 minute, you know, you could be cleaning the barmer. Next minute, you're running making the milk, because they've got the viewing, and people, the public have paid tickets to watch the elephants being fed. So, you know, you could be just like doing different jobs, you know, like you could be starting one thing and then you could be doing something totally different by the end of the day. You're not sticking to just one thing. And plus we were doing game drives as well throughout the program, and that was to help the research team as well. So all the biodiversity studies, everything had to be surveyed and recorded. So again, no 2 days were the same, and that's what I think keeps the program really interesting, because you know, you don't get bored. There was no time to get bored, and everything you learn fast, because you've got to repeat it later. So, you know, and the nice thing is, because it's a small group that you're with, everyone helps each other. Everyone's very supportive. It's not a big group, so you're able to do that with just like 4 people that are new. We all learn and we all shared. Like if someone forgot something, just remind them, oh, do it this way, do it that way, and you know, and that's the whole thing, isn't it? Everyone just sort of chips in. Everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses, I suppose. But in this program, I just felt that it was really good for everybody. I wouldn't say that if you're young or middle-aged or elderly, that there's any restriction as such. I think everyone would be capable of doing this program. I think the only thing is you've got to have the passion. I think that's the key ingredient. If you've got the passion, you'll do it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like a through line that I see in all these interviews. So, like, it doesn't matter your background, your age, it's really just about passion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I think is great for anyone that, you know, is looking for something to like help out somewhere or go and volunteer somewhere. Like, this is a good place where you don't really need like the prerequisites. Like, if you're passionate about it.
Absolutely. And everyone was ever so friendly. You know, like I said, you felt like you were coming into a family, and now I feel part of the GRI family, because once you've done the experience, you feel like you've made that connection. So, you know, I would love to come again at some point, because I want to, you know, still be part of it. I want to do it again at a later date, and it would be nice to reconnect with the people that you've met, and you know, and I still keep in touch. You know, we've kept in touch on WhatsApp with the group that I was with, and with staff as well. So you make those connections, you know, which is great, because it's not a program where you just go have the experience and then that's it, it's forgotten, it's just at the back of your mind. It's not like that at all, or at least I've not felt that. I felt now I've come back home, I really would like to see what more I can do before my next experience again, and see how much work I can put in to actually try and help fundraise as much as possible.
Yeah, that's great because you could still stay involved and keep up with it. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I was curious how many people you volunteered with, like how many people were in that.
We were just a group of 4. There was a couple from the US, and there was a young lady, only 19, and she was from Germany,
Oh, nice.
and myself. So there were only 4 of us.
Yeah.
Um, so it was a nice small group. And yeah, we really enjoyed our time. We really did. When you're not doing the work, then of course you're, cooking meals, you're, sharing time together. There's rest days where you can go to a lodge and enjoy time away. So there's plenty of opportunity to get to know people, from a social aspect as well, rather than just stay in camp. There are, other facilities that you can visit. So yeah, it was very diverse, the program. It was very well thought out, and the nice thing was you weren't stationed in one camp the whole 3 weeks. You start off in Lusaka at the nursery, then you go to the primates facility, you do 2 days there, and then you finish off at the Kafui release facility. That's the longest time. And then the very last day, you go to Livingston and see the Victoria Falls. That's the big reward at the end,
Yeah.
which was fantastic because that was another first for me. I'd never
Yeah.
seen them, and oh my God, it was honestly, I think everyone must experience it because I heard the Victoria Falls before I saw them, and I was just like, it's so loud, it's deafening, and I was actually trembling. I was scared. I was like, if it's this loud, gosh, and honestly, I can't even put into words just how amazing it was, just that experience as well. The whole program was, like I said, it was very well thought out, and it just was a fantastic experience all around.
Oh, I'm glad you had such a good experience. Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
then you were saying also you were working with primates as well as the elephants.
There was an enclosure at the nursery, and we had 3 primates that had been rescued from trafficking. So they were brought in, and they had an enclosure where they had like little baby monkeys that they were looking after until they're old enough to take to the release facility. So they had baboons and ferret monkeys, and at the release facility they had bigger enclosures, and they were much older monkeys and baboons. So we were involved in looking after those as well, and I think that they were affiliated with the Born Free organization, I remember. So yeah, it was a different camp, different setup than the nursery. So again, it was readjusting your sort of mindset to staying in a different camp, different people, different setup. There we were near a river, so we had to be very careful, crocodiles, hippos, all that type of thing. So yeah, it was just that constant alertness, to your, and just that sort of being aware of yourself, safety, your personal safety as well. And I think that was also very important, that it was highlighted a lot, your personal safety. You always had to follow a certain protocol, which I think was really good. You got briefed at every camp on your own personal safety, what to do in situations and what not to do. So that was really informative, and I think it was really important to know that. But yeah, it was thoroughly enjoyable. That was a nice, like that sort of was like in between the nursery and the release facility of the elephant. So it kind of broke it up a little bit. So we, So when we went back to the Kafui release facility, then it was like, oh, now we see the big elephants. Now we see a massive, bigger bomber because they're all over 3 years old now at the release
Yeah.
facility, and everything's much bigger. There's a lot more browsing to bring in. There's a lot more feeding. Well, feeding not so much because we reduced from 5 milk bottles to 2.
Mhm.
We were doing 3 and 2 power balls, for 2 of the elephants because they were being weaned off the milk. So it was just different all the time, and obviously we had a lot more game drives during that time in Kafui, but we never saw any big cats. We heard them, we saw the tracks, but we never saw them. I know the group recently there, they've seen lions, so we're a bit jealous of that because I've actually seen them. We couldn't see them. We really tried. We didn't see. We heard them. I heard lions roar at night, but I saw the leopard tracks in the morning. So I could see that they had come close to camp.
Wow.
We saw them, but again, you don't feel unsafe because there's scouts all the time. Again, the safety is paramount, and the drivers are fantastic. They know what they're doing, and we were, instructed to follow their guide all the time. And we did have a situation where the wild elephants were crossing the road, and it was just how he maneuvered the vehicle, and the timing, and just being aware and using us as his eyes and ears to see as well what was going on around, because we didn't want to get ambushed. That would be terrible, being ambushed by wild elephants, because that could happen. So it was really, really good to see. The experience really helped on coping with a situation like that, because it can happen when you're in the bush. Anything can happen, and you fully trust them because they've got the experience behind them. They know what they're doing, and it was nice to just feel that yes, they know what to do. I think that's important. I think when you haven't been to the bush before, you can be complacent. You can think, well, I can't see anything, but you don't know what's out there, but maybe something, maybe nothing. But you can't take a chance, you can't take a risk, because we can't see them, but they can see us. And that's because now I know for sure the lions, I didn't make it up. It wasn't my imagination. They were there. They could see us. We just didn't see them, because proof, has turned up that there are at least 2 male young lions.
Were you ever scared in those moments?
But it's because when I saw those pictures recently that Andrea has sent, then the realization hits you, because I'm like, I was in that tent that night, and I know I heard the lion roar. And the whole trip we were like, we haven't seen any big cats, but I knew what I heard, and I thought, just get it. I knew that they were out there, so you're not going to take any chances. You just follow the safety protocol, and and that's what we did. But
that's also good to hear that you felt safe with the guides and everyone who was with you, because that's another thing that people talk about. They're like, the guides, the drivers, everyone is so great. It just feels like a great community to be a part of.
No, they really, they're so experienced, because they are Zambian. They've lived there, they're born there, they've grown up there. They know the environment, they know everything. For us, for me, that was my first time in Zambia, and not just going to Zambia, but going to the bush. So I had to put my trust in them. I had no option, because I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to maneuver. I wouldn't know how to drive in the bush. I wouldn't know how to behave. If a wild elephant is going to charge, I wouldn't know. So they could see from the animals' behaviors, and they knew when to back off, when to go forward, when, to avoid situations. So it was nice just seeing how they were reading all these, and they were conveying all that to us as well. So we were learning as well, you know. And I think that was very interesting, because I thought, yeah, we all have to, be aware and alert for each other, because the driver might not see what's coming from the side, or he might not see, what's behind. He might be focused on something else. So we all had to be involved in everybody's safety. But yeah, awesome experience.
Really?
Especially when you see the wild bulls, how protective they are. They are so protective, especially when there's young baby elephants. They literally stand guard, as if like, don't mess with me, don't even come close. They're ready. They're always ready. And that's when I noticed, like, whenever we went to the bush and we saw groups of wild elephants, that the bulls would be just standing ready, waiting for any. Yeah, it was amazing, really, at how they behave when they see like vehicles, and just how protective they are. Honestly, it was really amazing just to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure that's like amazing to see, in real life.
Yeah, like I said, it's not the kind of thing you would ever see here. You wouldn't see, because they're not wild.
Yeah.
This is the difference from me growing up, seeing animals that are in enclosures and have been bred in zoos and safari parks, to animals that are born in the wild and are wild, fully wild. I've not, there's such a difference.
Yeah.
Such a difference. It's not even a small difference. It's almost like it's a different species, almost, because the behavior is so different.
Yeah, that's interesting because you don't really think about that if you're not like.
No, no. You would never see an animal behave like that in a safari park, because they don't see us as a threat, because they're so used to, they're socialized, and they've grown up knowing that they're going to get fed. They haven't got to do anything really, other than just pose for the cameras. Whereas in the wild, it's so different. They're fighting for their survival, and they don't want people around. They don't want to be disturbed. They want to, they're foraging. They're looking after the young. You see a totally different animal, different behavior. I found that really, really interesting, just making that comparison.
Yeah, I mean that's like a whole different ball game. It's just.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like I said, like you wouldn't really think of something like that unless you're like out there in that situation, like, and it's in front of you. It's like, oh, this is a different area than I would have like expected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, also another thing I was wondering about was I know sometimes people have said in the program like they work with like the elephants and the primates, but they also have like gone into the community or worked with like the women there, and I was wondering if you were able to.
We didn't work so much with the women, but what we did was there was a couple that came from America, and they were going to set up a library in one of the schools in Mambilla, and me and one of the other girls from the group, we went along with them to help launch this library in the school. So that was a really good program, because we realized that was the first library in the whole district, and they hadn't got any books, they hadn't got anything. It was very basic school. So that kind of opened my mind up to how easy something like that would be to fundraise and to support the local schools as well in the future, because everyone always gets rid of books. We don't really read books like we used to, because we've got the internet, we've got ebooks. So there's always books. I know I've done it myself. I've got rid of like boxes of books, but how easy that would be just to donate. So I've taken all the emails and the details, because I thought that's something that is very possible for a lot of people to do. We could easily send books to the local schools there, and support the children there, because it's very much needed. It's very, very much needed. And also we visited the school that GRI support as well. And again, we took food. We went to the shopping area and bought lots of food items, and we supplied them that day with like food stores, and but just got to know the children a little bit. We spent a little bit of time with the children, and that was really interesting. Also, we went to a community area, and unfortunately there were 2 deaths of that had occurred like one after the other. Both were employees of GRI, so out of respect we went to a funeral as well. We stood back and we were just observing, really, but it was interesting to observe the cultural sort of ways of how people, like different rituals, different traditions as well. So we got to experience, a different side. But yeah, what else did we do? Mostly it was just the schools. We were involved in the schools, and then of course we went to the anti-poaching unit as well. That was really, really interesting day. We actually managed to go and have a look at the command and control center. I didn't realize they were so effective. It was so efficient, and they had the big screens, they had the tracking systems, it was all live. And the thing that I really found interesting was that they could track the elephants live as to their movements. So if an elephant was encroaching a community area or a space they were not supposed to be, they could quickly deploy a unit and move the elephant. So not only were they helping that elephant from harm and ensuring its survival, they were also helping the community as well. And it was fantastic, really, seeing that they can just do that literally within minutes, because they can see on their tracking system where the elephants are going. So that was really, really interesting. It was, there's just so, like I said, there's just so many facets to this. It wasn't just elephants, it was everything connected to elephants. I've developed an interest for bird watching, since I've come back as well. It's really quite bizarre, really, because I'd never thought about it before. It's only because we did a little bit of bird watching at one of the facilities, and it just sparked an interest, because I was like, I'd never really done it, and now I've started doing it back home, because I realized how it all connects, how nature supports, everything. It's like we had to study the birds to see what species were around, to see how healthy the environment was, because they support, I don't know if you heard that, but that's my clock that my brother bought me, and it's a bird sounding clock. That was really on key with what I'm talking about. On the hour it will sound. So it's bizarre. But that on the hour you get a different bird sound. But yeah, it was all part of just recording, for the research team, but also it just shows you how well nature connects, because for the elephant survival you need good species of birds, you need good species of trees. Everything is connected. It's not just one aspect. You need the community to work with you. You need the anti-poaching unit to be efficient. Everything has to work together to support their survival. And I came away absolutely blown away with how much I'd learned in just 3 weeks. I think the intensity of the program and how much you can come away with, it was just really awesome. Really, it was, because it went up, like I said, you know, above and beyond my expectations as a program, because I went there with very little knowledge, very little knowledge. I thought I knew a lot when I first went there, and sadly I realised I know very little, you know. But I came away with so much, you know, because you just absorb, you're like a sponge, you just take in everything, because there's just so much knowledge, and these people have been, you know, experts in everything that they do, so you're getting the best knowledge from people who are actually in the field, and you know, and you're learning from them, you know, firsthand.
Yeah.
Which is so much better than reading up about it or going online, you know. You won't get that kind of learning experience other than actually having those face-to-face conversations.
Yeah, you got the first hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm glad you had such a great experience while there too. And yeah, just one last question before I let you go. But I was wondering if you had any advice or any encouragement for anyone who is looking to volunteer.
Number one, don't overpack. You don't need to. I think I must have missed the brief where, you know, because you wear the t-shirts, you wear the GRI t-shirts most of the days. And I think we all fell in the same boat there, because we all overpacked. We realised afterwards we packed too much. You don't need to pack so much, because you can wash your clothes and you can rewear things. But most of the time when you're around the elephants, you will be wearing the dust coats which they supply over the top of your GRI t-shirts. So you don't need to overpack. You don't need makeup. I went there with makeup. I didn't wear it one day at all. You don't need makeup, so you don't need to worry about things like that. You just need to focus on what you're there for and just get as much out of it as possible. And you will, because I think only people who are really interested will go. You've got to have that little bit of a passion to start with, and you won't be disappointed. Because there's just so much to do, so much to learn, and you make such a connection with the elephants. It's amazing. Even though you don't touch them, I know that they knew me. They can tell, because when I saw Nadewa and Chukumbi at the release facility, after I'd already met them at the nursery, I could tell. They knew my voice when I was talking. They heard me. And I could see, it's hard to explain, but you just know that they know you and they appreciate it. You know, they appreciate everything you're doing, and that for me was just golden. You know, that the fact that I'm doing it for these beautiful creatures, and that they are acknowledging me, that my presence, I think that to me was, it's hard to put into words, but it's just that in that moment you just feel that you've done something, you've contributed towards, you know. I know it sounds silly, just the little tasks that you do, but it just means so much. It just means so much, because if everybody just does that little bit all together, we can make such a difference. And I think that's what's, you know, when you see the state of the elephants and how healthy they're becoming, you know, day by day. And you know, honestly, I can't praise the staff enough, because they work around the clock. We were sleeping and they'd be up like, you know, at the crack of dawn, and they'd be up during the night doing night shifts, and then they'd be again on shift again. It's round the clock care. It really is. But honestly, fantastic experience, and I would not hesitate to do it again. I really wouldn't. And I'm going to keep talking about it, because it just made such an impression on me. And yeah, and I want to know what happens to these elephants that I met. I'm on that journey with them now, so I can't quit now.
Gotta keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with me. I'm glad it was so positive that you had such a
Yeah.
great And hopefully this will encourage other people to, step
Absolutely.
maybe volunteer as well. But yeah, just thank you for sitting down with me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.